Welcome CSC 121 for spring 2020. I'm going to review EX9, which is the lottery number generator, and here's a link here that we use to actually get started with it. That'll open up in my Replit account, so for me to fork it, I don't have a fork button here, so I'm just going to go inside here and I'm going to fork it, which makes a copy so I don't go over the original one, and then I'll just change my name here, and now I'm working on this new version just like we did in class. And I'll close up the files over here. We don't need to look at it. And I'll extend this a little bit. And we had code that was started for us. And we have pick a lottery number. It's just going to be like a daily number, 3 numbers. So you're going to pick 3 numbers, 0 through 9. And there's a print statement here that's actually creating a space. And then we have variables that represent input for 0 through 9. And we're converting into an int right away. So we're just using integers. We're not doing any validation right now. We're not focusing on that. We're just focusing on conditional statements and generating random numbers. So this part here, I could replace this right away because we're just going to print out YP1, and I could put a comma. I could use the comma method, and then YP2, and then YP3. That'll just print out whatever number that I input right now. And we have random numbers here that we didn't generate yet, and we're going to use the random module. Now, I'm typing random. That means I should have the random module imported, but I don't yet. So I am going to do that, and I'm going to say rand int, and it's going to be between 0 and 9. And I'm going to put a range here of 0, 9. So it uses 0 between 9, and it's inclusive of those. So it'll use 0 and 9, just like whatever anybody puts here. And hopefully they'll put in those numbers because they're trying to win the lottery. And I'm going to do this 3 times. So it's going to happen 3 times. We're not just doing a 3-digit number. We're actually going to do 3 separate numbers. So that's why we have my 3 numbers are YP, the computer random numbers or the lottery random numbers are RN. And then I could even print these out here just to see what happens. RN1, RN2, RN3. And I'm getting a red wavy line here because I don't have a random module. Let's just see if that's it. Undefined name random. It doesn't know what random is. So at the beginning here, I'm going to type import random. So it uses the random module. And I'll just hit a return and everything should be okay. YP3, it looks like I have YP2 here twice. So let me fix that. So now we're okay. Now that I fixed that one, which hopefully that didn't mess anybody else up when they did it. So if I did it right now, if I just ran this, what I have right now, I'm going to pick like 4, 4, 4. That's a lucky number. And the daily number that came up was 701, so it wasn't even close. So I lost. So we're going to put a conditional statement that if they all match, it's going to say you're the winner. And if we lose, it'll say better luck next time. So we're going to do this down here. So we're going to set up an if statement. So we're going to say if, and we're going to do if you won first. So if you're the grand prize winner, and what we're going to do, we're going to say if YP1, that's the one I picked. If I see YP1 equals, and it's not going to be equals, it's going to be equals equals, if it's equal to RN1, and we have to use and here because all 3 have to work out if we're going to be the grand prize winner. So we have to use and here. That means all 3. You could use elifs as well, but we're just going to use and in here. And then we're going to say YP2, and then equals equals RN2. And then finally, the RN3, or the YP3, equals RN3. That situation works out. If they're all true, then we're going to print out you won. And we could put exclamation points because that's a big win there. So that's what we're going to do first. Now, if you lose, it's just going to be else. Either you're going to win or you're going to lose. So I'm going to put else here and move it back to the margin so it's not part of that first if, and I'll just put a colon here because remember an else condition does not have a condition. It just means if it's not this one, it's going to be anything else. So if they don't match, you're going to lose. And then we'll just tab over here and put print, and we'll just put better luck next time. So there's our print statements down here, and we're also printing the numbers as well, so that's okay. So that's all we're doing here is just doing a little practice here of if-else statements, and also using the random module so we could generate a random number, and we have variables that are representing them. So if they all match up here, we're a grand prize winner. So let me run it again. And it does not, 237. But one thing I just wanted to point out here, sometimes they have a number with a daily number that you could box it, meaning if you got the same numbers, but not in the same order, that way you wouldn't be the grand prize winner, but maybe there's kind of a small prize that you might win if you have the same numbers but in a different order. And we were talking about in class, that must be a whole lot of ifs down here to figure that out, but it's actually It's actually easier than you think, so I'll do that real quick. That was actually just taking these numbers, and remember, they're going to be generated after we input them, so we're just going to put them in a list. So I'm just going to call a list, or create a list, called YP list. I'll just call it list, and I'll put the numbers in right away. I don't have to append them. I could just stick them in now, because whatever they are, whatever I input, they'll get put in this list, because I'm using the same variables. So I'll make a list of YP1, YP2, and YP3. So they're now part of a list, and then I'll do the same thing with the random numbers that are generated. And remember, once they're generated, they can be in this list. So I'm going to do RN1. So there's my numbers here. I'll call this the RN list, so I'll make sure that everything's okay. And the reason we're using a list is because we could do something with a list called sort. And if you're not sure about sort, you could do W3 schools, and you could just type in Python sort, just to make sure that you have the syntax correctly. And here it's called the Python list sort method. So it's a method which is part of a list. So it's meant to use with a list, and that usually means you're going to see something like some kind of dot syntax here, where it's going to have the list name, and it's going to say dot sort. And that's about it. And that's all it should do. It should just sort that list here. And there's all kinds of methods for lists that we can use, but we're just going to use the sort one. So that one's pretty easy. So we're going to go back here, and we're just going to try that out. So I'm going to do YP list, because that's the list name, and I'll do dot sort. Now we'll try this first, unless we have to hold it as a value, but it should be sorted right after that, because there's the list, and now it's sorted. We'll try it out and see what happens. And what I'll do down here, I'll do the same thing. I'll put rn list dot sort, and that's all I have to do. And it'll sort whatever list comes out. So because it's numeric, what it'll do is it'll sort it ascending, meaning it'll put the smallest number first. So if I did 7, just for example, if I did 732 here, it's going to sort it as 237, and it'll also sort this one as 237, so that way they'll match up. So we could even put an else here. So what we're going to do is we're going to put in elif, and we'll move it back to the margin. And our condition here is going to be elif, and we'll just use the list first to make sure it works, and we could test it to make sure it works first. And we're going to say elif YP list, and if it equals the RN list, then we should be good. And after that condition, then we could print out, or you have the same numbers and you win a small prize. We're not going to type that out right now, but I'll just put you had the same numbers, so we'll know if that happened. Now, who knows how many times we'd have to do this to try it out. Let's just run it now, see if we have any mistakes or anything in the code. And we could even print out the list just to make sure that they're okay. Like I can even go at the end here, and I could just say, just at the end of all my code, I could just print YP list just to make sure it's sorting correctly. That's all I'm going to do down here, and we can get rid of this. And I'm going to say print RN list. So we're going to print that out after everything, after we find out if we won or lost. So I'm going to go through here, I'm going to run it one more time, and I'm going to pick a lottery number, and this time I'm going to do 5, and then I'm going to do 2, and then I'm going to do 9. And they came up with 865. So when it sorts it, it says 259 and 568. So I lost, but it's sorting it correctly. So if I did get it right, and I'd have to actually see the number before I actually do that. So I'd want to actually print out the random number before I choose it. So if I wanted to test that out, I can actually maybe cut this temporarily and put it in front of mine so that it does the random first. Now, obviously that's cheating because I would know what the winner is ahead of time, but that way at least I can see what it prints out first and see if I can kind of match it up. So let's just see if this works. So I'm going to go here, and it's saying the winning number is 732. So it's not even printing out the, we're not printing out the sorted one, it's 732. So I'm going to pick 3, 2, and 7, and hopefully I should get that elif to come out. And it says you had the same numbers because it now put it in 327, it put it in the order of 237, and it's going to put this one in the order of 237. If I printed them out again, I could do that at the end. I shouldn't have gotten rid of them. And this is YP list, and this is going to be RN list. And again, I'm cheating just to see if it works out. So I'm going to run it again, and it's 825. So I'm going to pick 528. And it says you had the same numbers. And you could see that it sorted it in 258. So it sorted it in the right order, so they're the same. So then when I actually compare them, it's comparing the list as being the same, which they would be once they're sorted. So it does hold the sort. It doesn't just do it temporarily. I don't have to hold it as a variable. Once I sort the list, it stays sorted unless I do something else with it. So that actually works. So that's all I want to do there. I'm going to move this back the random picks. I don't want to put them, just run it one more time. I'll see if I get lucky. Before I stop the video, I'll go with a 4, and I'll go with a 6, and I'll go with 2. I'll go all even numbers. And look at that. That number came up 0, 0, 0. That's pretty rare, but I wouldn't have thought of putting 0, 0, 0, but it came up, and I lost. That's the lottery number, and that's using sorting a list. Introducing a list just so we could sort it actually makes things a lot easier. We didn't have to throw in a whole lot of elif statements to find out if the numbers were in a certain order, if we had the numbers. There would have been ways to do it that way, but this worked out easy. So that was a nice solution by using a list here in the square brackets and just putting them in order by what we picked and then sorting them.